I was interested somewhat in medicine as a child. Music was actually the first thought, but then I went into the Army. I really wanted to try to do something to help people, so I decided that medicine is probably the right thing for me. And my thought always was, why did I go to medical school rather than go for a PhD? I did because I wanted to help people, and therefore I always continued seeing patients. And that was actually, to me, an important component of my life.
I was interested in health before I met him. In those days, they were always pushing you to get married. I ended up in a hotel where everyone was dancing. And the person I was dancing with was the man who then was going to be my husband. I didn't know. And I danced with him and spoke with him. And thought, now, there is someone who has a brain. I did. And I thought, well, that's someone I might marry. So I thought I'd never see him again. He went in his usual direct way, found out my number, my phone number, called me, and we were married 5 months later.
I did a fellowship in Sweden, and that's what turned me on then into doing academic genetics and staying in a research career in addition to doing clinical work.
We did a lot of research as students and was much encouraged. We wanted to collaborate together very much.
Her first paper was with Marco and me from Sweden.
But when we came back, my chairperson, Louis Thomas, said to me, "You cannot work with him. It's nepotism." So what could I do? And I went and told the students after that, when you work here, what you do is you do one experiment for yourself and one for your boss. Then you can decide what you're going to tell them.
When the way of looking at chromosomes became easy, we started looking at for kids that nobody knew what was wrong with them to see whether their difficulties, both physical and mental, were due to a chromosome abnormality. And it was the first case really where we could demonstrate that missing a piece of a chromosome caused all of these abnormalities. And that was the 4p minus Wolff-Hirschhorn syndrome that came about. Science has grown unbelievable. The question of what a gene was barely understood when I started in genetics. And with the ability to not only know that there's a gene, but to be able to sequence the DNA in that gene to find defects and explain them in a very, very real sense, the privilege I've had of being a part of that to me is the beauty of it.